Is marijuana addictive? Nope. But there's more to it. Welcome back to Season 2 of Discover Marijuana. I'm Tim Pickett, a medical cannabis provider here in Utah. I'm here with Blake Smith, a bioanalytical chemist with Zion Medicinal, and new this season, Josh Fitzgerald, a clinical pharmacist with Deseret Wellness Cannabis Pharmacy here in Provo, and we have an opportunity to film some of these videos right on the product floor, talk about some products, and give us a new perspective with some of the content that we're going to bring you this season. I want to remind all of our watchers that this video series, this material, is not intended to be medical advice between a provider and a patient. We bring this to you as information, education, and entertainment. Okay, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Is marijuana addictive? Blake, walk us through addiction a little bit, this pharmacokinetics of cannabis. Like, what are we dealing with?
So we've, in a previous video, talked a lot about the science last season. And then in another video, we talk a bit about, habitualization versus addiction. Try and keep it short and simple. For things like opioids and other drugs that form what's called deep synaptic grooves, within the synapse of memory, within the central nervous system, and specifically in the brain, you form these necessary or these needs to have that fulfilled all the time. And so that's what we would call an addictive behavior and medicine, right? Habit is much more of you get used to something and every day you start your day with a cup of coffee. Right? Or you might have caffeine addiction, maybe, but let's say cheese Danish. Okay, you start every day with a cheese Danish. Cheese Danish in of itself is not addictive, but it could be a habit. It could be habitual. And I'll say one more thing about this in general. The reason why cannabis is not addictive, it can be habitualized, but not addictive, is because basically, cannabis and cannabinoids mimic normal neurotransmitters that your body already produces. And so you're not introducing something new or forming new synaptic ways when you take cannabis products. You are literally just mimicking normal neurotransmitters your body already has, which is why cannabis is a cool medicine, because your body already knows what to do with it.
Josh, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me.
You have an extensive 20-year history in pharmacy.
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of addiction.
Yes.
In fact, I know a little bit about your story. Didn't you get into cannabis pharmacy because of addiction and this opioid epidemic?
Yeah. A lot of my family members have been affected by addiction with opioids over the years. And it's given me the opportunity to research this a little bit and find safer methods for pain control and other ailments. And cannabis really fits this hole that's missing in our therapy that we have here in the United States right now. And so I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to share my knowledge with you guys about it and know it's not addictive.
Yeah. So when you see patients now that are coming into the cannabis pharmacy, what are you trying to communicate with them? Are they worried about getting addicted to cannabis?
Some of them are, yeah. A lot of them come from an opioid background where they're taking opioids and they're here to have cannabis replace those opioids. And they're fearful of developing another addiction. And we walk them through, like what Blake said. We have this built-in endocannabinoid system that our bodies know what to do with the cannabis when we introduce it to our bodies. And so we've already got that inherent protection against it.
It's as if we co-evolved with cannabis.
Almost exactly like that.
Right? Like it's a natural occurring substance.
Would I say that it is impossible to form an addiction with cannabis? No, because I try to always avoid
the absolute.
The absolute. Right. Is it very highly unlikely? Yeah,
and a lot less likely than other medications that are on the market, such as opioids or benzodiazepines and other things of that nature. So cannabis is much safer.
And this is a very good point to bring up. And when we talk to patients, we talk a lot about cannabis versus other things. So Blake and I have talked a lot about this in previous videos too, where really we love the fact that cannabis is an option. Mm-hmm. we all would love to just eat salad and exercise and be healthy and not to take any supplements or any extra medication. But when we talk about addiction in cannabis, we're talking about it in comparison to other things usually, why we're choosing cannabis over opioids, benzos, because when you compare those particular classes,
they're extremely addictive, yeah.
And the long-term side effects are terrible.
Terrible, yeah, and they're hard to come off of. If you want to come off of them, it takes time and takes effort and sometimes rehabilitation to do that. And so with cannabis, if we can eliminate that and use cannabis as a treatment method, we protect our population and our patients in general. So,
one of the things that we get a lot of questions about, and I think people worry about, I think in the medical community too, this idea that you're going to have withdrawal symptoms if you take away cannabis. And we know that there's significant withdrawal, there's physiologic response to withdrawal from opioids or benzos that can be really dangerous. But is there that same thing with cannabis?
No, there's really not. There's, like I said before, our bodies have protected us against that in a lot of ways. And so our bodies can cope if we were to be on cannabis for a long time and then go off of it. You might feel some need to replace the medicine, in some aspects. But you're not going to go through a withdrawal type of symptoms that you would with an opioid or a benzodiazepine. Like
we talk about a little bit of patients might get a little irritable, right? Yeah. If they're chronic users, especially somebody who's using 3 or 4 times a day, you might have some withdrawal irritability, but you're not going to get that physiologic response where you're going to have heart rate issues and other things like that. That's right. So 2 more kind of questions that I have. Do you feel like beginners need to worry about addiction?
No, there's no risk of addiction in such small dosages that we're using as beginners and beginning dosing. It's not a problem.
Okay. Do you, Blake, what's the best way if you have a chronic user? And I think that the low dosing is really good for medical programs, but adult use programs and recreational programs where you have people using, a lot of cannabis every day, what's the recommendation for like resetting tolerance?
Yeah. So two classes of people. For medical, it's a little bit of an issue to completely wash out and stop. Because if you're taking your cannabis for a medical condition, to completely stop using a cannabis to reset, I would probably not recommend. At least you should be consulting your doctor and your pharmacist for that. And the reason why washout periods or periods where you don't take it is effective at resetting is because your body will adjust how many transmission sites / how many receptor sites you have within the synapse based on how the concentrations are working in the body. So if you have high concentrations all the time, you'll have more receptor sites that are active. And so washing out, what happens is your body will literally be able to reset that. So from a medical standpoint, I wouldn't completely go off, but I would consult with your physician and your pharmacist about how to cut down to basically reset. Right. For adult use, because you won't have the same withdrawal symptoms that you would from some of the other drugs that we've talked about so far, I recommend a complete stop. I recommend holding off for a couple of days. And not for long periods of time, but just a couple of days will give you a start of reset. And one of the nice things about that is you'll spend less money because you'll be able to use less product over time to get the high that you used to get when you first started. Whereas when you hit it really hard all day, every day, you typically have to just keep increasing. And so, yeah, you can start over and it's okay.
We have a reset guide actually at utahmarijuana.org. We use a specific reset guide where we help patients walk through a couple of days with very low doses, if any doses of cannabis, and then starting with 50% to save money, help that tolerance, and to avoid that concern about am I getting habitualized? Is this becoming a habit? Is this becoming an addiction? And that can help patients too. Be sure to subscribe to our video series because we're going to put out more videos about product choices and specific conditions. And if you have a comment or you have a regimen that you use to reset your tolerance every month or every quarter, we'd love to hear about it in the comments.